माधव कुंज बिहारी जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी जय गोपी जन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी जय गोपी जन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी यशोदानंदन ब्रज जन रंजन यशोदानंदन ब्रज जन रंजन यमुना तीर वनचारी जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे जय कृष्ण बलराम जय वृंदावन धाम जय राधा श्याम सुंदर श्री राधे Jayo Gauranitai, 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 Jayo Gauranitai. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Prabhupada. श्री श्री हरिनाम संकीर्तन की। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम अज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुम् उन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूप कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरुः श्रीयुतपदकमलं श्रीगुरून् वैष्णवांश। श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगण रघुनाथामितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपदान् सहगण ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितां च। नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्तस्वामिनिति नाम्ने। नमस्ते सरस्वतीदेवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषशून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्णा हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। Maharaj, I offer my respectful obeisances. Kindly bless me so that I can speak something today. Maharaj, I request to please take the seats. Srimad Bhagavad-Gita, chapter 6. So the title of this chapter is Dhyana Yoga. And in this chapter, let's have a summary of this chapter. There are 47 shlokas in this, 47 texts. And this whole chapter can be divided into 5 parts. In the first part, Krishna is explaining, Lord is explaining to Arjuna what are the prerequisites for meditation. From shloka kramang 1 to 9 is explaining what are the prerequisites for meditation. And then he explains how to meditate, what are the basic practices from shloka kramang 10 to 17. And then he explains perfection in meditation, how to achieve perfection in meditation. And then there are some doubts. In the fourth part of this chapter, doubts about yoga from shloka kramang 35 to 45. And then ultimately the final part is the topmost yogi. Who is the topmost yogi? Yoginam sarvesham madgatenantaratmana. So devotee is the highest yogi. He concludes with this chapter. So today verse number 20 है ना श्लोक में। Shloka number 24 today. I will recite this. 24. Yeah. So the Shlok Cramank 24 is in the third part. You can see the third part. Perfection in meditation. So Krishna is explaining perfection of meditation. So kindly recite this verse. स निश्चयेन योक्तव्यो योगो निर्विण्ण-चेतसा saṅkalpa-prabhavān kāmāṁs tyaktvā sarvān aśeṣataḥ manasaivendriya-grāmaṁ viniyamya samantataḥ na niścayena yoktavyo yogo nirviṇṇa-cetasā saṅkalpa-prabhavān kāmāṁs tyaktvā sarvān aśeṣataḥ manasaivendriya-grāmaṁ viniyamya samantataḥ na niścayena yoktavyo yogo nirviṇṇa-cetasā saṅkalpa-prabhavān kāmāṁs tyaktvā sarvān aśeṣataḥ manasaivendriya-grāmaṁ viniyamya samantataḥ sa niścayena yoktavyo yogo nirviṇṇa-cetasā saṅkalpa-prabhavān kāmāṁs tyaktvā sarvān aśeṣataḥ manasaivendriya-grāmaṁ viniyamya samantataḥ sa niścayena yoktavyo yogo nirviṇṇa-cetasā saṅkalpa-prabhavān kāmāṁs tyaktvā sarvān aśeṣataḥ manasaivendriya-grāmaṁ viniyamya samantataḥ. और कोई? So word to word meaning of this shloka: saha, that, niścayena, with firm determination, yoktavya, must be practiced, yogaḥ, yoga system, anirviṇṇa-cetasā, without deviation, saṅkalpa, mental speculations, prabhavān, born of, kāmān, material desires, tyaktvā, giving up, sarvān, all, aśeṣataḥ, completely, manasā, by the mind, eva, certainly, indriya-grāmam, the full set of senses, viniyamya, regulating, samantataḥ, from all sides. So meaning of this verse and the purport by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki, one should engage oneself in the practice of yoga with determination and faith and not be deviated from the path. One should abandon without exception all material desires born of mental speculation and thus control all the senses on all sides of the mind. Purport: the yoga practitioner should be determined and should patiently prosecute the practice without deviation. One should be sure of success at the end and pursue this course with great perseverance, not becoming discouraged if there is any delay in the attainment of success. Success is sure for the rigid practitioner. Regarding bhakti-yoga, Rupa Goswami says, Utsaha niścaya dhairya tat karma pravartanan sanghatyagat sato vratte shadbhir bhakti prasidyati. One can execute the process of bhakti-yoga successfully with full-hearted enthusiasm, perseverance and determination by following the prescribed duties in the association of devotees and by engaging completely in activities of goodness. As for determination, one should follow the example of the sparrow who lost her eggs in the waves of ocean. A sparrow laid her eggs on the shore of the ocean, but the big ocean carried away the eggs on its waves. The sparrow became very upset and asked the ocean to return her eggs. The ocean did not even consider her appeal. So the sparrow decided to dry up the ocean. She began to pick out the water in her small beak, and everyone laughed at her for her impossible determination. The news of her activity spread, and at last Garuda, the gigantic bird carrier of Lord Vishnu, heard it. He became compassionate towards his small sister bird, and so he came to see the sparrow. Garuda was very pleased by the determination of this small sparrow, and he promised to help. Thus Garuda at once asked the ocean to return her eggs, lest he himself take up the work of the sparrow. The ocean was frightened at this and returned the eggs. Thus the sparrow became happy by the grace of Garuda. Similarly, the practice of yoga, especially bhakti yoga in Krishna consciousness, may appear to be a very difficult job. But if anyone follows the principles with great determination, the Lord will surely help. For God helps those who help themselves. So in this verse, Lord is explaining how to perfect the yoga system. Yoga means to link up, to connect with the Supreme. But in this material world, today yoga has become fashion. And there are so many yoga classes are going on. These yoga classes are all on the bodily concept. But actually yoga meaning is to connect with the Supreme. Now, in Bhagavad-Gita it is explained Ashtanga yoga process. So in Ashtanga yoga process, there are do's and don'ts. There are 8 Ashtanga means, Ashta means 8, Anga means parts. So there are 8 parts or 8 steps in the yoga process. This is the yoga, this is called as yoga ladder. The first one is yama. Yama means don'ts, do's and don'ts, we say, no? So yama means don't. Don'ts or regulation, negative prohibition. Param Pujya, His Holiness Anand Krishna Maharaj Ji just now explaining the mind, how unstable the mind is. It's very difficult to control the mind. So the whole yoga process, Ashtanga yoga process is to control the mind. So first step is regulation, all negative prohibitions. So that's why in Bhakti also Srila Prabhupada has made a foundation that there are 4 strict rules one should follow before even chanting. That is, one should not have any habits, drink or intoxication, and one should not eat non-vegetarian, and one should not eat which is not offered to Krishna, and one should not have sex with adharma apart from the married wife or husband, and one should chant. So these are the regulations one should practice. And then niyama means do's, rules, positive prescriptions. One should get up early in the morning, and in the yoga system, how one should practice this, how one should sit, how one should meditate, how one should control the senses. So these are all do's. Then asana. Asana means sitting position. the meditator, how he should sit, sitting posture, controlling the body. And then breathing, pranayama. Breathing is controlling the breath. There are different types of air flowing in the bodies. So this breath control exercise will control the air passing through the body vertically and horizontally. Then withdrawing the senses, pratyahar. Withdrawing the senses from the sense objects. Then dharana, controlling the mind. Fix the mind, absorption. And then dhyana, meditation on Vishnu. And then samadhi, trance, complete absorption. Now in the bottom of this is the yoga ruksha stage. It's the beginning stage of cultivating detachment. The purpose of this yoga system is to detach from the material objects and attach to Lord Vishnu. And then as we follow these steps, we will achieve the yoga ruda stage, cessation of work, complete detachment. So this is the process described in Srimad Bhagavad-Gita. But at the end, Krishna concludes that, and of all yogis, the one with great faith, who always abides in me, thinks of me within himself, and renders transcendental loving service to me, is most intimately united with me in yoga, and is the highest of all. That is my opinion. The last verse in this chapter. Now, if we compare the bhakti-yoga and the process of bhakti and the dhyana yoga, you can see the dhyana yoga is the reverse order. Now in dhyana yoga, what actually the meditator or dhyani will do is, the purpose is to connect, then conceive, cleanse and control. There are 4 C's. First thing is connect. Yoga means to connect with the Supreme. Conceive, conceive the form of the Lord or conceive the lotus feet of the Lord. And then cleanse, just by meditating on the Lord Vishnu, meditating on his lotus feet, the heart, dirty heart will be cleansed. And then control. So it starts from the top. First, in yoga system, we try to do from the top. We try to first don't do this, don't do that, and then do. We try to control this. And then cleanse. By controlling this, we try to clean our heart. By sitting posture, withdrawing the senses, practicing to withdraw the senses, controlling the mind. It is for cleansing. And then conceive, cleaning through meditation on Vishnu. And then connect. So this yoga system is actually, dhyana yoga is the reverse order. But bhakti yoga is a very, very simple. As soon as one starts chanting, take the bead and start Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. You can just compare these 2 triangles. In bhakti yoga, as soon as the meditator starts chanting, the sadhaka starts chanting, immediately he is connected, because the name of the Lord directly connects with the Lord. So connect and control. And once he starts meditating, he starts chanting, automatically the connect and conceive happens at the same time. Because when he is chanting somebody's name, he has already heard about who is Krishna, what is his form. Or when he goes to temple, the form. So immediately connect and conceive happens instantly. And then once he starts chanting, then there is a cleaning process. Cheto darpanamarjanam bhava mahadavagni nirvapanam. So the chanting itself will start cleansing the heart. And then automatically control. So the devotee need not to struggle for controlling the senses. This is the difference. But in dhyana yoga, the meditator has to struggle. So His Holiness Maharaj was just saying how difficult it is to control the mind. It may be easy to control the flow of air, but controlling the mind is much more difficult than controlling the air, pressure of the air. So that process he has to undergo in Dhyana Yoga. Then he has to follow do's and don't rules and proper sitting posture, withdrawing the senses, then controlling mind, cleansing. So this process is a long process. And there is no guarantee that one will achieve. But Krishna is suggesting here one should be determined, just like a sparrow, the story of sparrow. Utsahan niścayat dhairyat. One should practice this meditation. Now in Srimad Bhagavatam there are many stories how the meditator has failed to achieve the success. One very prominent example is Shaubhari Muni. Shaubhari Muni was a great ascetic. And in this Yamuna river, he went for meditation. And he was a very famous yogi. He could control his senses. He made a cover, of the material cover to cover himself, and he immersed in the water, Yamuna's water here. He was meditating. Even however strong he was, but you see the mind, he saw that there are two fish in the water having sex. And when he saw that, because of his association being in the water, he started, his meditation was disturbed. He thought that, oh, how nicely they are enjoying. But what I am doing here, sitting inside the air, I am, deprived of this material enjoyment. So that disturbed his long, prolonged meditation. And immediately he came out from that and he wanted to marry. He went to King Mandata, and Mandata was having 50 very beautiful princesses. And he went and asked Mandata king. So Mandata king welcomed him because Shaubhari Muni was very popular Rishi, Muni. And he welcomed him, and then with great honor, he asked him, what's the reason that you have come to me? So he said, I want to marry, and you please give your daughter to me. Mandata Raja was shocked. Shaubhari Muni was very old, with all this meditation, Dhyana Yoga for number of years. He has become very old. His skin has become wrinkled. His hair was matted. And anybody who sees him, will not be ready for marriage. Mandata was very intelligent. Mandata was from the Sun dynasty, Suryavamshi. He said, my lord, if you want to marry, you go and select, and if they like you, you can marry. So he gave that responsibility to their daughters. If they like you, you can marry. You can select whomsoever they like you. Then Shaubhari Muni understood, this body may not attract these young girls. So with this yogic Shakti, with his power of yoga, he converted himself to be young, beautiful, young bride, young man. And then he went into the inside chambers of those princes. Because he has become so beautiful, all the 50 daughters of the Mandata king wanted to marry him. And in fact, everyone was quarreling among themselves, I will marry him first, I will marry him first, because of that beauty. And then ultimately he married all the 50 daughters. And then, by his power of yoga, he created in this, the bank of this Yamuna, very beautiful palaces. And each princess was having one palace, one very opulent palace. And he enjoyed with them for so many years. But then ultimately thought himself to be how foolish I was. Just to attain the Supreme, I went inside and did such an austerity meditation to attain the Lord. And alas, How unfortunate I am. Just for this material enjoyment, I give up everything. And this material enjoyment is available even for dogs and hogs. So, he gave a lesson to all of us who are Bhagavatam readers that, how one should be determined. So, Krishna is suggesting here, in this, even in bhakti-yoga, one should be determined. Initially, it appears to be very difficult to get up early in the morning, go to Mangalarti or chant 16 rounds. But Prabhupada is suggesting one should be determined. Utsahan niścayat dhairya tat karma pravartanat. So ultimately one will achieve the success. Now there is a comparison of the yogi. This whole chapter, ultimately Krishna concludes that the bhakta devotee is always much better than yogi. So what are the yogi, the nature of yogi? He follows yoga shastra, he practices celibacy, brahmacharya, and usually go to the secluded place and away from the general mass of the people. He detached from the general mass of the people and he is concerned with own spiritual advancement. Yogi, generally he is concerned about his own spiritual advancement. So that is his nature. And lives, eats and dresses simply. Simple living and high thinking. Then what is mentality and attitude? Yogi should be very determined. What is this shloka is suggesting? He is very determined, yogi. Then only he will achieve success. And mind focused on super soul, Paramatma. Then may desire to control using mystic powers. So whatever this yoga mystic power he will try to control. Like Shaubari Muni, he created a cover with which he can withstand within the water for a long time. So that was the mystic power. He may mistake himself to be the super soul. Sometime, Aham Brahmasmi. He might mistake himself to be the super soul. So these are the mentality and attitude. Then he is detached, self-controlled. Philosophy of a yogi. The soul is eternal and body is material. Super soul is within everything and everything is within him. Sees equally of all beings. The goal is to become one with the super soul or to serve the super soul. So the yogi, when he meditates on the super soul. So there are 3 stages of attainment of the Supreme. Brahmeti, Paramatmeti, Bhagavad iti Shabdati. Brahmeti, the meaning of Brahmeti is to attain the Brahma Jyoti, to join or link with the Brahma Jyoti, to absorb in that Brahma Jyoti. So Brahma Jyoti, what is the origin of the Brahma Jyoti? The Supreme Lord. Bhagavad-Gita in 10th chapter, Krishna says, Aham sarvasya prabhavo matta sarvam pravartate iti matva bhajante mam buddha bhava samanvita. Everything emanates from me. Brahma Jyoti also emanates from Krishna's body. But the Muni or the yogis, their ultimate goal is to join this Brahma Jyoti, get dissolved into this Brahma Jyoti. But the next chapter, Brahmavadis, and next yogi Munis are Paramatma. They attain the Paramatma realization. Paramatma means the Lord in the form of super soul exists in everybody's heart. So the yogi meditates on that super soul. This is the next step. But there is no direct interaction with the Supreme Lord. The disadvantage or the lacuna of this meditation is only up to Paramatma realization, and there is no adan pradan, there is no exchange of love between the Supreme God and the meditator. And because of this, there may be possibility that he will get bored and sometimes he falls back. But a devotee is always cherishing, enjoying, because he serves the Lord in person. And every day as he hears about the Lord, as he serves him, the joy increases. There is no possibility of falling down in devotee. So that is the difference. Now next is action. Neophyte performs karma yoga side by side with Ashtanga yoga. Advanced yogi does austerities and meditation. Restricts the mind and senses. May cease external activities. Result is he gets mystic perfection, yoga siddhi. If he perfects himself, he attains siddha loka. He will not go to Golok Vrindavan, but the devotees go to the place of Supreme Lord, Golok Vrindavan. If he perfects himself, he attains siddha loka. Otherwise, he takes birth in an aristocratic family of devotees or transcendentalists. So this process of meditation, according to this chapter, is not complete by itself. It is a process. So in this chapter, Krishna is explaining how to perfect this. And once the mystic yogi, when he perfects it, he will attain the mystic perfection. With that mystic perfection, he can proceed further to become a devotee, maybe in this life or in next life. But now when we compare this process with the devotee, just see nature of the devotees. The devotees follows authority of Guru and Sadhu and Shastra. Expert knows how to connect everything to Krishna. So devotee has nothing of his own. Whatever Guru and Shastra is saying, and everything he tries to connect with the Supreme, Krishna. And he is truthful, pure internally and externally, behavior non-envious, friend to all. So that's why when Krishna, when he is calling Arjuna, many times he calls in Srimad Bhagavad-Gita, Anasuyave, one who is not envious. So devotee is non-envious and friend to all. Suradam sarva bhutanam. He is the friend of all the living beings. And selfless, because whatever he thinks, does, it is for the pleasure of Krishna. So that's why devotee is selfless. Then compassionate, suradam, simple. And then philosophy, Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead from whom everything emanates. So this is 10.8. Aham sarvasya prabhavo matta sarvam pravartate iti matva bhajante mam buddha bhava samanvita. He is the supreme enjoyer. Krishna is the supreme enjoyer, supreme proprietor, and ever well-wisher. In chapter 5. The living entities are his eternal fragmental parts, simultaneously one with and different from him. In Bhagavad-Gita 15.7, Mame amshe jiva loke jiva bhuta sanatana manasavendriya-grāmaṁ indriyani prakriti sthani karshati. Every living being is part and parcel of me. But because they are being separated from me, they are struggling in this material world. Matter is his separated material energy, which controls deluded living entities. So there are two parts, matter and the non-matter. By engaging everything in Krishna's service, one becomes liberated to go back to Godhead. Goal of life is pure devotional service and Krishna prema. That is the ultimate goal. But in yogi, it is mystic perfection, to attain some kind of siddhi. But for a devotee, he does not hanker for any perfection, any siddhi. In this connection, Srila Prabhupada quotes one very beautiful example. In Calcutta, there was one mystic yogi. By practicing yoga for many, many years, he had attained that perfection of walking on the water. He could easily walk on the water without any, instrument. He used to just walk on the water. So there was a devotee and group of devotee, and the mystic yogi did not use the boat, and he was just walking. Everybody was surprised. When they passed on the bank, came to that side, and so somebody told to Prabhupada, so Prabhupada, look how great he is. He has achieved that perfection. Prabhupada laughed and said, so what is great in this? I know he has struggled so many years to attain this perfection. But what is the cost of this? It's just 50 paisa. You give 50 paisa and pass easily through the boat. Why you have to struggle to attain this perfection? And that's the difference. The devotee does not care for this mystic perfection. So his only goal is to serve Krishna. So mentality and attitude of devotee is humble, free from false ego, no sense of false proprietorship. Krishna is the proprietor. Equipoised amidst dualities, both during the happiness and the distress is equipoised. Free from attachment, fear and anger. Attached to Krishna's service in association of devotees. Self-controlled. Servant of everyone. Satisfied by experiencing higher taste. Does not like to waste time. Unbreakable determination. So in both the cases, determination is important. So that's why in this shloka, in this verse, Krishna is, Prabhupada writes, so one should not get discouraged if there is any delay in the attainment of success. Success is sure for rigid practitioners. And regarding bhakti-yoga, Rupa Goswami says, Utsahan nishya dhairya tattat karma pravartana. So devotee is determined. Mind and intelligence fixed on Krishna. He does not try to control externally by artificial way to control the mind. Just by surrendering to Krishna and meditating on Krishna, the mind is automatically controlled. Very easy process. Acts as Krishna's instrument to please Krishna. Everything is to please Krishna, nothing for himself. And that is the mentality and attitude of devotee. Then action, always chanting Krishna's glories, Bhagavad-Gita 9.14, performs devotional service, acts as duty to set an example. No dependent on ordinary course of activities. Dependent on Krishna's mercy. Preaches to enlighten suffering humanity. Always enlightening one another and conversing about Krishna. Machchitta madgata prana bodhayantah parasparam katayantascha mam nityam tushyanti cha ramanti cha. He exchanges the Krishna Leela with anybody that he meets, and then he also enjoys and makes others also to enjoy hearing the Krishna Katha. That is his action. And result is he escapes the cycle of birth and death. From this ocean of material existence, he gets through, passes through, and then he attains the Krishna Prema spiritual world. So these are the comparison between the meditator and yogi, and this is the conclusion of this this chapter. So according to Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, the path of bhakti yoga is so joyful and practical that even in the stage of sadhana bhakti, in which one follows rules and regulations without an advanced understanding, one can perceive the ultimate result, as stated by Srila Rupa Goswami, Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. As soon as one surrenders to the Supreme Lord, Krishna, prapadya manasya, giving up all other activities, viraktir anyatracha, one is immediately to be considered a liberated soul. The Supreme Lord Krishna is so merciful that when a living entity understands that the personality Krishna is the source of everything and surrenders to the Lord, Krishna personally takes charge of him and reveals to him within his heart, and he is under the Lord's full protection. Thus devotion, direct experience of the personality of Godhead, and detachment from other objects become manifest even in the beginning stage of bhakti yoga. Since bhakti yoga begins at the point of liberation, other processes have as their final goal salvation or liberation But according to Bhagavad-Gita 18.66, sarva dharman parityaja mamekam sharanam vraja aham tvam sarva papyebhyo mokshayishyami ma shucha. If one surrenders to Krishna, one is immediately liberated and thus begins his career as a transcendental. So Maharaj Ji was just now explaining in Hindi class the enemies of the mind. The man, that is the mind, is the biggest enemy of the mind. So these are the 6 enemies of the mind: Kama, lust, Krodha, anger, Lobha, greed, Matsya, envy, Moha, illusion, and Mada, intoxication, madness. These are the 6 enemies. So Srila Prabhupada Ji quotes in this context, there is no other greater enemy than the mind, who is uncontrolled and always going astray. So he further says, if you tell a thief not to steal, despite all sorts of warning, he will continue to steal. Therefore, the best way is not to prohibit. The best way is not to prohibit by laws, but to cleanse the heart. That is the real prevention of spiritual sinful activities. So this in dhyana yoga, artificially we are trying to control the senses and then fix the mind on the super soul. But Srila Prabhupada says, and also Bhagavad-Gita at the end concludes, the best way is not to prohibit the laws, but to cleanse the heart. That is the real prevention of sinful activities. So Maharaj Ji was just saying, in the person even in the brahmachari ashram, because of his previous habits, it's not easy for him to give up. Some brahmachari was smoking in the ashrama, but hiding without showing to anybody he was sometime smoking or sometime drinking tea. This is very difficult to control the mind and the senses. So the best process is to engage the mind and in the service of the Lord. This is how so the conclusion of this chapter is, and of all yogis, the one with great faith, who always abides in me, thinks of me within himself, and renders transcendental loving service to me, is the most intimately united with me in yoga, and is the highest of all. That is my opinion. A yogi is greater than ascetic, greater than empiristic philosopher, and greater than even the fruity worker. Therefore, O Arjuna, in all circumstances, be my yogi. Yoginam api sarvesham mad gatenantar atmana shraddhavan bhajate yomam same yukta tamo matah. This is the conclusion of this chapter. So, Srila Prabhupada mentions about the meditation in these shlokas. O lotus-eyed Lord, by concentrating one's meditation on your lotus feet, which are the reservoir of all existence, and by accepting those lotus feet as the boat by which to cross the ocean of nescience, one follows in the footsteps of Mahajanas, great saint. So these are the prayer by the demigods when Krishna was taking birth. Tvayambujaksha khila sattva dhamni samadhinaveśhitacetasā tvatpadapotena mahatkritena kurvanti govatsapadam bhavabdim. By this simple process, one can cross the ocean of nescience as easily as one steps over the hoofprint of a calf. The Bhavasagara, the material ocean, is nescience, and it's so difficult to cross this. But one becomes devotee, for him to cross this material existence is just like passing through the hoofprint of a calf. A small water contained in the hoofprint, it becomes so small. Such a powerful prayer it is. Again, Kardam Muni, when prays to the Lord Kapiladev, Bahujanma vipatvena samyak yoga samadhina drashtum yatante yataha Shunya agareshu yat padam. After many births, mature yogis, by complete trance in yoga, endeavor in secluded places to see the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of God. This is the yoga ruda stage. So they take long time to come to this stage of meditating on the Supreme Personality of God as lotus feet. So this is the conclusion of this chapter. But in both the process of what this chapter says, in both the process of dhyana yoga and bhakti yoga, one should be determined. And even if there is some fallout in the process, one should not get bewildered. He should continue this process and ultimately he will achieve the success. So that is the meaning of this verse. Thank you very much. Thank you Maharaj-ji for giving me blessings. About 20 years back, Maharaj-ji blessed me to take Bhagavad-Gita class in Juhu, and because of his mercy, and I am able to speak something in front of him. So kindly excuse me Maharaj if there are any defects in my speech. So any comments? Maharaj-ji, would you like to say something? Any question? Any comments? श्रीमद् भगवद गीता की, श्रील प्रभुपाद की, सभी भक्तों की जय। हरे कृष्ण।